Hey guys, it's Jen. Welcome back. Today I thought I'd do a quick review on the Sheglam products that I got from Shein's website a couple weeks ago. And when I showed these in my Sunday haul, I got so many requests to do this video. So what I'm talking about, in case you missed my Sunday haul, are these palettes right here. They're from a brand called Sheglam. I saw them on Instagram and I thought they were just their own brand, but then I came to find out when I followed the link that they took me to the Shein website, which normally I've known them as just a clothing website. I didn't even realize they had beauty products. So I have gotten some clothing from there. Actually, the top that I'm wearing today is from there, and they're very, very affordable. Like, I want to say this shirt was $6 or $7. So that kind of gives you a rough idea. These palettes are also $6. The liquid blushes I'm going to talk about today are $4.50. So they're very, very affordable. And these palettes, actually, as I was swatching them and looking at them in my haul video, they look exactly like some Huda Beauty palettes. So I'm definitely going to be doing some comparisons today. Also, these liquid blushes are dupes for the Nars liquid blushes. So lots of fun stuff to get into today. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so first up, let's take a look at the packaging really quickly. So there's 4 different ones that I got. The packaging is really beautiful. It's cardboard. It's a little bit on the thicker side, but they're not too chunky or too crazy. And then inside you have a 9-pan palette. They're just really pretty. Actually, with the gold ring around it, it reminds me a lot of some of these Wave palettes that I have. And then it has a mirror right here. I actually didn't take the plastic film off of it, but it's a really nice big clear mirror. So I really like that. On the back, you have a full ingredient panel. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do a close-up of this because I got so many questions about the ingredients of these palettes. They do contain carmine. So if that's something that you are allergic to, then I wanted to let you guys know up front so that you don't waste your time watching this video. These are also made in China. So if that's a deal breaker for you, then I also wanted to let you know that. All right, so let's go ahead now and look at each palette up close, and I'll show it next to the Huda palette that it's duping, as well as comparison swatches. So first up, we have the Beach Sunset palette, and when I saw this one with these really beautiful deep berry tones, it made me think of the Huda Beauty Nude Rich collection from the Nude Obsessions, and they are exact shade for shade dupes. You can see, like, with them side by side how, like, even the shades are in the exact same order with all the same finishes. And when you look at them swatched side by side, they really are exact color dupes. Not exactly formula dupes, but I'm going to get into that a little bit later. And then next up, we have the Blossom palette. This one is beautiful as well. You have some pinks in here, some neutral browns, and also some beautiful golds. And this one reminded me so much of the Huda Beauty Rose Gold palette. Now, it doesn't have all of the same shades. The Rose Gold palette has quite a few additional shades in it. So in the Shein one, you're missing a couple of the lighter gold shades. You're also missing the black and the gray matte shades, but I do think you have a really good variety in this one. And again, swatch side by side, it's really, really difficult to tell the difference. They look almost identical. Next up, we have the Desert palette, and this one is so gorgeous. This is probably my favorite. It's the one I'm wearing today, and this one has those really, really soft, beautiful tones, the purples and pinks. It's just such a gorgeous palette, especially if you have a lighter skin tone. And it reminded me so much of the Huda Nude Light Obsession. And again, it's just a spot on dupe. It has the shades in the same order, same finishes going on. And again, swatched next to each other, there is very little difference between all of the shades. I think it's just beautiful. And then last but not least, we have the Breeze palette. And this one I was so excited to see because I'm always getting requests for Mercury retrograde dupes, and that's exactly what this one is. Again, it only has 9 shades versus the 18 like Huda's full-size palettes, but really I think they captured all of the interesting and more unique shades that are in Mercury retrograde, and they left out like the black and the deep berry red and just some of those neutrals that I feel like we have a lot in our collections anyway, and they kept all the beautiful pastels and the blue and the pink and the green. I think they did a great job at just singling out the shadows that make Mercury retrograde a little different than other palettes. So as you can see, these are very, very close color dupes, but the formula is a little bit different than Huda's, so I just wanted to talk about that for a couple minutes. First off are the Shimmer Shades. So when you look at the Shimmer Shades in these palettes, when you first get it, I don't know if I'm gonna really make sense when I'm saying this, but sometimes, like, when you look at a shadow, I don't know if this is just me, but you can kind of tell what it's gonna feel like. So when I saw saw these, they kind of looked like they would have that rich buttery feel where when you put your finger in, it kind of sinks in, it feels almost creamy. And that did not happen at all. When I put my finger into the shimmer shade, it just kind of packed down almost immediately and felt very hard and like I wasn't going to be able to pick up anything. And I was really disappointed with that. But then when I started swatching them, I realized that even though it feels like you're not picking anything up, you actually do. So it's kind of an interesting texture. It's not bad, it just surprised me. The one thing I will say though is that a lot of the shadows in these palettes have a lot of fallout, and especially some of the more glittery ones, you are going to get glitter fallout on your cheeks, whereas the Huda ones are usually a lot more creamy and buttery, and they kind of are held together a little bit more. So it's just something to think about when you're using these palettes. If you don't want the fallout, I would suggest wetting them because that really helps them to stick together a little bit better, and then you're not going to get like all that glitter on your face. But I have to say, despite the formula difference, they actually do really look very similar once you get them on your eyes, which you'll see when I do the demo. And then when it comes to the matte shades, I just want to do a couple brush swatches so that you can kind of get a good idea of how they compare to each other. So first let's dip into the Breeze palette and Mercury Retrograde, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up that mint green shade, which is called Biscay Green in the Breeze palette. And as you can see, it applies really nicely with a brush. I feel like it goes on very pigmented. It does have a little bit of dustiness to it, but I think they adhere to the eyelids really well even without eyeshadow primer, and they're not the type that just kind of blend away. And then when I apply the Huda one next to it, I'm using the same brush but just cleaned it off first. You know, you can see there's really not a whole lot of difference between how these apply with a brush. So I was very, very impressed with that. And then let's go ahead just quickly and do one more. This is the brown shadow that's called Daily Routine in the Breeze palette. It applies really nicely. It's very pigmented. Again, there is some fallout, but not a big deal. And then we have Karma in the Huda palette. So you can really get a good idea of how these compare. And usually I apply shimmer shades with my finger, but I just want to quickly do a couple brush swatches in case you like to apply them with a brush. So I'm going to take a flat shader brush and go into the gold shade in the Breeze palette first. And this is the one that has the kind of marbled effect, just like the Huda one. But again, it feels completely different, yet I think it swatches really well with a brush also. And then going into the Huda one, this shade is called Gold Glitch, and it has such a creamy texture that it actually has dried out a little bit over time. And that's the one downside to shadows like Mercury Retrograde or the Rose Gold palette, because they have that almost cream formula, so they do dry out over time, and I find that they just don't stay quite as pigmented. So that's just something to consider. And then I just want to quickly do the turquoise shade in the Breeze palette, which is called Fountain, and I think this one applies really nicely with a brush as well. I think it has good adherence to the skin. And then we can also take a look at the Huda one. This is called Mercury. So even more than finger swatches, I think brush swatches give you a really good idea of how something is going to work out on your eyes. All right, so now let's go ahead and dive into the look that I'm wearing today. I used the Desert palette. So first off, I started out with the shade April, and I'm applying it with the Refer number 15 crease brush. It's a really nice fluffy brush. I love this one, and I think it just distributes the product so nicely. I'm also using tape on my eye, which is something that I normally don't do, but I've started to do it lately after watching several videos, just because I find that it helps me to know where to stop on the outer corner of my eye. I have so much trouble with that, and I find that it really helps as a guide that I don't go too far or I don't go far enough. So I've really been loving using tape. Next, I'm going into the shade Hyacinth, which is a beautiful dusty matte purple, and I'm using the Refer number 13 brush. This is a really, really small crease brush. It's great for hooded eyes, and I'm applying this slightly lower than I did the first shade, just right into where my crease is, just to deepen things up a little bit. I also felt like this shadow applied really nicely. And then I'm taking the Refer number 3 brush, which is a really tiny little pencil brush, and dipping into the shade Casablanca, which is a really rich chocolatey brown, and I'm putting this right in the outer corner of my eye, kind of almost like a winged liner. And again, I love that the tape is there, because with this one I can just go right along the edge of the tape and create a sharp line. So I think this one again is very, very pigmented. It applied beautifully, and then I went ahead and removed the tape, and when you do that, you're going to have a very kind of obvious sharp line there. Then I dipped back into the Casablanca shade with the pencil brush and just connected the bottom lash line with the top, and then brushed that up towards that sharp edge. And then I just blended everything out so that it didn't look so harsh. Next, I went into the shade Mars, and I'm just using my finger to apply this one. That's the way that I prefer to apply shimmer shades to my lid. And this one also has that really kind of hard packed feel to it, but it applied beautifully to my eyelid. I think it went on really pigmented. I did feel a little bit of glitter kind of falling down onto my cheek, but nothing too bad, nothing that I really felt like I had to clean up. And also, I'm not using any kind of primer on my lid either. I think it applied really nicely. And then for a finishing touch, I went into the shade Desert Sage, and this one is such a gorgeous duochrome shadow, and I applied this one right to the center of my lid just for some dimension. And this one had a lot less fallout. It was actually very, very smooth. I also put a little bit of this one on the inner corner of my eye as well. And then last but not least, I took the shade Camel, which is sort of like a peachy tan color, and I took that really small pencil brush from Rephr and just put this right along my lower lash line. So I love the finished look. I think it came out great. The tape really helped to kind of give a lifted appearance and kept everything looking really neat and sharp. So I really love that. I think I'll definitely be using tape from now on. All right, so next up we have these liquid blushes. I have 3 different shades. I think they come in 4 altogether, and they're exact dupes supposedly for the Nars liquid blushes. I don't have those, unfortunately, but as I was swatching these and reading off the names in my Sunday video a couple weeks ago, I got so many comments saying that these are the exact names of the Nars ones, and I knew Orgasm was one, but I didn't realize that the others were. So I have the shades Orgasm, Dolce Vita, and Torrid. So I'll go ahead and just show you some swatches, but first let's take a closer look at the applicator, because I think these are really fun, and I also love the packaging on these. I think it's beautiful. It has the frosted bottle in like that millennial pink color. It has the gold accents, and then the applicator is this really fun triangle shaped sponge. It's really soft. It makes it super easy to apply. You just kind of shake them up. They have the little ball in the bottom like a nail polish would, and then go ahead and apply it. So let's go ahead and take a look at some swatches. The first one is Orgasm, and this one is a beautiful baby pink shade. I don't know if this lines up exactly with the Nars one, because I want to say at least the powder version of Orgasm, which I have, is a little bit more peachy than this, while this one's more of like a cooler bubblegum pink, but I'm not sure about the liquid version. I'm sure some of you guys would know better than I would. And then the next shade is Dolce Vita. This one is a beautiful pinky nude. I think this one might be my favorite color out of all of them. I think it's just so gorgeous. And then the last shade is Torrid, and this one is a beautiful coral. I really think they're all so pretty, and I think they're going to be great for summertime. They have like this watercolor effect when you apply them. They're very, very sheer, but you can build them up to whatever level you want to go. So if you want to do just like a sheer wash of color, you can go ahead and just put a couple dots on your cheek and then use a damp beauty sponge to blend it out. It blends out very, very seamlessly. These are not sticky, so they don't lift up the foundation underneath, and that's definitely something that I look for when it comes to a liquid blush, that it's not going to disturb my base products at all. And also these dry down almost immediately. You have to work very, very quickly, but you're left with just something that looks like it's coming from within your skin instead of sitting on top. It never feels sticky or tacky, and I find that using a damp beauty sponge shears these out a little bit. So if you'd like more pigmentation right off the bat and you don't want to have to keep layering them up, just use your fingers. I did that as well, and I found that if you just kind of pat it in and use a patting motion, they go on way stronger and more pigmented than with the beauty sponge. Again, you just have to work really quickly before they set. And one other thing to mention is these do have a little bit of micro glitter in the formula, but I don't see it once it's on my cheeks. I think like the action of just kind of patting these in either with the sponge or your finger kind of like sweeps the glitter particles away. So you're just left with a really beautiful glow, and it's really long lasting because it's more like a stain than one of those cream blushes, again, that's gonna feel sticky and never quite dry down. So if you're looking for something that's gonna withstand the heat of summer and sweat and humidity and all that stuff, I feel like these hold up a lot better than some of the more dewy formulas. So overall, my thoughts on the Sheglam products are that I love the blushes. I think these are amazing. They're one of my favorites lately. I've just been reaching for these a lot. And if I had to compare them to one other blush that's out there on the market, I would say they're probably the closest to the Revlon ones because they're more like a stain. So if you like those Revlon ones, you'll definitely like these. I also think that the colors of these are a little bit softer than the Revlon ones. Those are a little bit more on the bright bright side. So I think these are just beautiful. And then when it comes to the palettes, I was pretty impressed with these, especially for $6. No, they're not going to be the same formula as Huda, but you can get the exact same looks out of them. The color match is identical. So if you're willing to just work with the formula a little bit and deal with some fallout and maybe like wet some of the shimmer shades to get a little more intensity, I think you'll really enjoy these. I didn't find them difficult to work with at all. Alright guys, so that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to let me know down below and also give this video a thumbs up. And I would love to hear from you down in the comments below whether you ended up buying these or not, or if you're waiting for the review and what your thoughts are. Thank you all so much for watching and hanging out with me today. Please don't forget to hit the subscribe button before you go, and I'll see you all in my next video. Take care guys. Bye.